My name is Matt Wilhelmy. I'm the owner of Strategic Voyages Business Consultants. I'm also the author of Taboo Business Questions, What's Haunting Every Entrepreneur's Growth. And today I'm joined by Amy Wilson. She's a fractional chief marketing officer in the UK. She's got 10 plus years experience leading performance marketing initiatives on a global scale. She often works with first-time founders and is brought in by investors to help with a variety of different marketing issues. Amy, thank you so much for joining me today. Pleasure. In our first episode, we spent some time unpacking this case study that was related to an EdTech company. They, just to remind our viewers, they sell their software to higher ed institutions. It helps with the gamification aspect of their education. They don't actually do any educating. Basically, they take the syllabus and the course content and they convert it into, they add some gaming elements to it through their platform. And so one of the things that I noticed when I was there as their fractional CFO was that their marketers, they had 3 full-time marketing people in their marketing department, and none of them had any reports. First of all, Amy, does that even surprise you that they had no reports?
Not really. I think it's part of maybe not understanding the full brief and scope of your role and who your stakeholders are. And obviously, like, I don't know the individuals, but it maybe sounds that they were a little bit nervous, trying to ask too many questions about how to make sure that everyone else in the organization in the external stakeholders had the information from them that they needed to. For me, you know, I've read some really crazy articles on Forbes about like how CMOs don't like CFOs and whatever, but I've just never had that in my career. I've always been really, really lucky, and I've always worked shoulder to shoulder with CFOs. I mean, I'm probably spending most of their money, so I need them to like me, right? And I think, yeah, for the last year or so, I've been getting loads of work from other fractional CFOs that have taken me on into new businesses with them. I think it's because I'm pretty handy with the red pen on the budget lines, but we can get into that in a minute if you like.
Well, Amy, it's interesting that you said that there's these articles about CMOs and CFOs not getting along. I have a lot of respect for CMOs because I don't do the marketing side of the business, but like you just alluded to, I see the money going out and I just want to know what it's for. What are we getting out of it? How's it going to work? I know that you can't promise results, but like, what are you guessing the results are going to be? These are some of the conversations I think we should have. And so getting back to this particular case study, I wanted to see if you could help me think about, you know, what would be maybe the solutions here for the marketing team. You know, it's not maybe as simple as create reports. I'm not really sure that that's really it, because the root problem, remember, was that they weren't getting any new leads. Their only sales were coming from kind of personal connections that founder has. And I would imagine working with a lot of founders yourself, you've probably seen this problem once or twice. And so what would be maybe a solution or two that you would recommend for this company?
I'm pretty brutal. Like, the training that I had with right at the beginning of my career was just turn it off, right? If your data's working, if things are tracking properly, and you're spending you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars or euros, whatever, on something, and there's no justifiable reason for that money to be leaving the business, then make it stop. You know, especially being trained on paid search. I worked on some of the biggest accounts in Europe. We would have clients that had individual keywords spending like £250,000 a month, one individual keyword. And, you know, to see it not drive any single leads, right, gone. Like, for me, that's how I was trained. I think, you know, marketing is so dynamic these days. You can test things pretty quickly. You can launch things for a couple of hours and get loads of impressions where you can turn them off for a couple of hours. You can see very quickly what the impact is of turning on or turning off or ramping up or ramping down. So for me, I've always just thought, you know, why spend 5 hours in a boardroom arguing about what to do when you could just sort of test something, you know? And for me, that's always been the attitude that I've brought to the table. I think when you talk about reports and marketing teams not delivering, that maybe sounds to me like there's not been some necessary conversations in the business about objective setting. What is the reason for existence of the marketing team? Like, what do they think they should be delivering versus what the leadership team think they should be delivering? You know, I've not so recently, but, you know, 10 years ago in my career, I remember having a conversation with a client who was spending about £60,000 a day on paid search, and his objective was that we hit a certain amount of clicks to the website a day. That was all he wanted to achieve from it. And so we took him through like an educational process of, actually, it doesn't matter if you only got 20 clicks, if you got the X number of leads that you need. I mean, hopefully more than 20 for £60,000 a day. But, that's just an example like of where the client isn't even setting their own objectives correctly. And you should start off a project with an OKR workshop where you're aligning all the goals of the marketing function to the overall business goals. If your overall business goal is to raise X or to exit in 5 years or to make loads of profit, like depending on what the business goals are, especially fundraising goals as well, you're going to tweak how your marketing function is operating depending on those overarching goals.
So Amy, I was taking some notes. I don't remember if you used these exact words, but I wrote down blow it up. And so, when you're thinking about a marketing team that, okay, again, you might not use those words, but basically if you've got these people you're paying money to and they're not producing anything, you've got to kind of, maybe just cut the losses. And I think that's one of the things they teach you when you're going to business school is about this sunk cost fallacy, which I won't get into all of it. But basically, if you've invested some money, like this company has invested in these 3 people, you can't use that as a justification for continuing the craziness. If they're not performing, or maybe they don't even know, maybe they're doing a good job, but the founder is leading it wrong, then it probably just needs a restart, and that's maybe where you're kind of coming in and saying, hey, like, I would just take a different approach, and maybe there's some homework that needs to be done kind of before we're doing these PPP campaigns and doing some of this advertising. We got to make sure our marketing and branding is on point.
Yeah, I mean, I think inertia is a big problem that I've seen throughout my career, and I think I've been consulting now for 14 years, so I'm definitely wired a really, really specific way. I'm really wired for fast-paced environments, but certainly in some of the corporate environments I've consulted in, I've had some conversations that would just blow people's mind. I had one client that was spending £45,000 a week on its agency's retainer and its paid search budget, and I identified that it was adding no value whatsoever to the business in terms of inbound leads. And I remember emailing my chief operating officer, my chief commercial officer, who was my direct manager, every week for 4 months saying, can I get them to switch off now? And he wouldn't make a decision. And this was costing £45,000 a week. And I definitely have seen this type of inertia in big corporates, is like this fear to put your neck out, because it's much easier just to keep your head below the parapet and keep going, keep having your job than to mix things up. And that really ties into sort of the culture of a company, and whether you can change things and you do get that buy-in to move things forward for the better.
That is a lot of money to be blowing every week. Holy cow. I mean, I don't know if you would feel comfortable emailing the CFO, but if I ever got an email from somebody in my marketing team asking why we're spending $45,000 to get nothing every week, I would probably, be very appreciative of that insight, because that's like crazy to me that a company would do that. But maybe that's what happens when investors, put money into a company, and then, the founders kind of just play with it. They don't even really know necessarily what they're doing with it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean,
that
company was turning over something like 200 million a year. So it wasn't, it probably wasn't significant for that company, but even so, that's a new mid-level hire they were wasting every week, for example.
Okay, if it's a $200 million company, they could probably stomach that loss for a little while, but that's still a lot of money. And I think that somebody in the finance team would probably want to know about it. So, well, Amy, we're about to wrap up our time for the day. I really appreciate you kind of weighing in on this case study and giving me some different perspectives, on how maybe this company can handle their issues with marketing. Was there anything else that you wanted to leave our viewers with?
Oh, that's a really good question. No, just that it's a pleasure to have joined you today, Matt, from across the pond. I've really enjoyed going through your questions and your case study, and I hope that there's much more collaboration between you and I to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just to remind people, I'm here with Amy Wilson. She is a fractional chief marketing officer from the UK, but she does take clients from around the country or around the globe. She's got more than 10 years experience leading performance marketing initiatives on a global scale. Working with those first-time founders, often she is brought in by investors. She told me that sometimes she's brought in when the other marketing agencies are not doing a good job, right? There's somebody there doing something, but it's just not working. And hopefully Amy can be the one to turn things around. So Amy, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, Matt. I really enjoyed my time with you today.